Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 338 for April 2nd, 2024. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, the UFL kicked off its inaugural season with plenty of things to talk about. There will not be a Touchdown Atlantic game this year in the CFL, but there will be a Touchdown Pacific game, and we got our first official look at an Arena Football League uniform for the upcoming season. But I'm not here all by myself. Across the table for me, as always, is my son Adam.
Hey there, how you doing? It's raining here in Kalamazoo, which is why I'm so happy that the team here at the World of Football decided to have a dome podcast stadium to do this in because
They're calling for snow tomorrow.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's Michigan weather for you.
Yeah.
I mean, one day it's raining, one day it's 70, and the next day it's snowing.
Yep.
Like it's just
We just got rid of some snow a few
and it's supposed to
days
hit
ago.
70 in a couple days.
Yeah, and we got I think they said an inch or more of snow around here anyway for tomorrow. So we shall see about that.
Yeah.
We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave with a dome on it, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. We also have timestamps done in the descriptions of both the podcast and many of our YouTube videos, so you can go right to the topics you really want to listen to. You can also find our podcast in its full audio form on our YouTube channel. Just search for The World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle at The World of Football in the YouTube search bar. You will find many other selected videos on our YouTube channel, like one that was just posted the other day. The World of Football goes to their first UFL game that Adam was up half the night editing and and posting. Yeah, you did that the night after the game, didn't you?
Yeah, pretty much I got home and put it together and got it up because we got home at like 9:30.
Yeah, 9:30.
And then I got home at 10ish. So I spent 3 hours putting it together and getting it up.
Yeah,
for a 4-minute video.
I woke up the next morning, and boom, there it was. I'm like, holy mackerel, that was fast. Isn't that kid sleeping all last night?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I don't know, as far as headaches, like I didn't have any headaches putting it together. It was real fun. And, I had to write a little script, do a little voiceover for it. Use what footage we kind of took during the game, but then also found some of the game footage. Couldn't find everything I needed.
Right.
So I don't know. I had fun putting it together. I was awake. I wasn't tired, so I was like, you know what, I can hurry up.
Yeah, you didn't have to do any of the driving. I did all the driving.
You did do all the driving, but I mean, I've been going to bed early anyway. But I figured I'm up. I think I can crush it, get it done. And by the time I was done with it, I could post it now instead of waiting for the morning.
Well, we were kind of on a high coming home because the game was so much fun,
which we'll get into.
In a moment. But yeah, this was the kind of game that makes the drive home fun.
Oh yeah.
Not a drag or a depressing. Don't turn on the radio to any sports talk because we don't want to hear about it kind of thing. But this was a lot of fun. So let's begin today's show, and we're going to start in the UFL this time.
Yep.
Week 1 scores on Saturday. The league started out.
Oh, you're just doing them. Okay, normally I do scores, but I mean, you go ahead. It's your podcast.
Well,
you put the roof over the podcast.
I'll do the UFL, then we'll alternate after this.
Okay.
On Saturday, it saw the Birmingham Stallions, last year's champions of the USFL, take on the Arlington Renegades, last year's champions of the XFL.
Smart. Probably one of the best decisions to start off this league. Yeah.
And I didn't watch much of this game, but you were pointing out that the USFL team brought the trophy out with them.
Yeah.
And I didn't see the XFL trophy.
Because we were en route to the Michigan Panthers game, which was the second game that day. So we were driving. You were driving. I had my phone, and I have YouTube TV. So on my phone, I pulled up the first game, and I was like, well, I at least got to watch how the league kicks off. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson came out, did his whole bit. Garcia, what's her name?
Danny Garcia.
Danny Garcia was there. So that was kind of cool. They took pictures with both head coaches. But yeah, when the Stallions came out, they had their USFL trophy, and I was just waiting for the XFL champs, the Renegades, to come out with theirs, which they didn't. So little foreshadowing of how that game was going to go, about who showed up and who didn't. But I thought at first I was like, this is a cool way to start the league off.
Absolutely.
And maybe those will be their conference trophies because it is a USFL conference and an XFL conference.
Could be.
So they haven't said that officially, but I'd be curious to see if that's what they stick with. So
We haven't seen the championship trophy for the UFL, have
no,
we?
not yet.
Okay.
So I don't know if and when they'll unveil that. So hopefully it's not as bad as the XFL trophy.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
But I feel like they could get a little bit away from what the USFL did, which just looked like a Super Bowl trophy
Right.
knockoff.
Right.
So I feel like they could do something different.
Sure.
So I hope so.
Make it look like the Grey Cup trophy.
Well, let's
There you
get
go.
away from that too.
But anyway, in that game, it was Birmingham coming out on top over Arlington, 27-14. The attendance for that game was 14,156, which is respectable.
For an Easter weekend game, and I don't want to make excuses for
Yeah.
this league, it is still a spring league. And there's still a lot of people that need to buy into this. It's, something that, every year it seems like there's some big change, like, oh, well, this league doesn't exist anymore. Oh, well, both these leagues didn't do great, so we're merging them together. So there's always been this kind of cloudy narrative around it,
Right.
which is unfortunate, and it's going to have its skeptics and its haters. But I think it's a respectable, and they love their football down there in Arlington.
Mhm.
So
Oh, yeah.
it's easy to see why that was a location that was picked, and they're the defending champs, so I can see
Right.
why that fan base,
Right.
came out for that team. I still don't like the way that they kind of not have fans in the end zones, like for that game, for our Panthers game.
Yeah.
They just keeping people out of the end zones, and like at least with the USFL did that. They at least had those big.
Right. Yeah, they had those fabric things that covered up the whole section.
Yeah, at least do that. You give it a little bit of a
Sure.
look if you're not going to sell those seats. It's just a bad look, and we'll talk about that during the Panthers game, I'm sure. But good for the Stallions, kind of proven, because there was kind of a narrative that the XFL teams were superior to the USFL teams. I don't know where that really started, but I mean, the Birmingham Stallions have been a spring league juggernaut.
Yep. The last
They
few
just know how to
years.
build a decent team. They get pretty good talent. I'm nothing against Arlington. They got a great coach in Bob Stoops, but Birmingham's just been doing it right, and
Right. Yeah.
they just got some really good players out there, and they look like they could be the best team in the UFL right now. But we might talk about another one that I think might be the best team.
Yeah. Stallions back-to-back USFL champs the last 2 years, so looks like they've picked up right where they've left
Yeah,
off.
they said they've only lost 3 games since they
I think
came
so.
back, so
I
that's
think so. Yeah.
shocking to me.
Yeah. Well, the second game is the one that we were at. and
Yeah.
boy, did we have a good
It was a
time.
great time.
It was the Michigan Panthers taking on the St. Louis Battlehawks. Now, ironically, we saw the Battlehawks and the Panthers last year in their respective leagues in both of their home stadiums. We went to St. Louis, we went to Detroit. So we have a connection to both of these teams, having seen them both play in their home stadiums.
They were your XFL team
They were
last
my
year.
XFL team last year. Yep.
And even when they first came out, you liked the St. Louis Battlehawks, and
Because of their blue and silver.
they were the
color scheme.
closest team essentially to
Closest
us.
team to us. So yeah, that's one that I actually went to go see. So yeah, they were my team last year. But now that they're back, I might root for them if they're not playing Michigan. But
Yeah.
because they were playing Michigan, I was all Michigan.
Yeah, oh,
last
yeah.
weekend. But yeah, the final score in this one was 18-16. But that does not tell the story of this game.
No.
It was, what was it? It was 3-0 at halftime.
Yep.
Boring first
You
half.
say boring. Like, I will defend. I thought that
If you like defense, it was
those
boring.
two defenses, I thought at first at least, maybe there was some bad offense, but I thought the defenses came out. The Panthers had a couple of studs in there, a couple of great sacks.
Mhm.
And despite, AJ McCarron playing really well for the Battlehawks, just even throwing a couple touchdowns, he couldn't overcome some of the stuff that Panthers defense was doing at times. But I thought both teams great defenses. We'll see how they'll stack up against other teams. And it is week 1, so give them that too. It's week 1. Everybody's out there for the first time. But after that, though, second half, the floodgates started open. The Panthers kind of found their stride. They started giving the ball to that running back of theirs, Hills.
Yeah,
I think he was the Wes Hills. He was the leading rusher, I think, for the whole UFL. I believe,
Right,
84 yards rushing.
Yeah, I think he played for the Breakers last year.
Okay, I thought he looked great. And obviously the Battlehawks got a couple of great receivers, a couple of amazing catches in this game for both teams.
Made me pretty upset with those great catches that
I know
St. Louis was
you hate to
doing.
admit, like when the other team gets a great catch,
Right.
you're like, dang it! But that is such a great catch.
Yeah,
But so they fought hard, and don't get me wrong, I think the Battlehawks could have easily won this game. The Panthers, who knew it would have taken a 64-yard field goal twice
Yeah.
to win this game.
Yeah, like I said, it was 3-0 at halftime in favor of St. Louis. At the end of the third quarter, it was 7-3 in
Panthers
favor
were
of
up.
Michigan, and all the scoring came out in the fourth quarter. And St. Louis went down and took a 1 point lead with about 2 minutes to go, I think.
It was at the end of the game. There was
Yeah.
40 seconds left.
Okay. And
44 seconds, I believe.
right.
They
So
gave the
then
Panthers the ball
Michigan
back.
gets the ball, and they couldn't move down the field very far. And God, what was it? Like 8 seconds to go, I think, in the game.
Yeah, when he
Um,
kicked it, yeah.
yeah, they line up for a 64-yard field goal with a kicker named Jake Bates, who had not kicked a field goal since high school.
Which we didn't know.
We didn't know any of this about this guy.
We watched the game, or I brought the game back up on my phone and watched the end of the game. We were in the car, kind of in traffic, leaving the game,
Right.
and I just had it in the speaker so you could hear it. And just hearing that little stat, like hasn't kicked since high school because he's always kind of been like the second or third kicker
Right.
on his college teams.
Right.
And to do this, it was just like, wow, that just adds to the awesomeness that was this moment that we were there for. That was a little disappointing when you look at the highlight because there's empty seats beneath those those goal posts, which sucked. Again, why aren't we putting up the big tarps or whatever?
Yeah.
But such a cool moment to be there. We had guys who were sitting near us who left after the Battlehawks took that lead. We were
Right.
just like, there's 40 seconds left. And to bring up some of the rules, so the UFL kickoff is different than that XFL kickoff, which is now being adopted by the NFL. So the UFL kicks off from the 20-yard line of the kicking team's 20-yard line. And so when the receiving team catches it, they're still catching it depending, on the kicker, about the 10 or 5-yard line of their own. Plenty of cushion to maybe get up to the 30, 35. Sometimes we saw a couple go to the 40-yard line, 50-yard line, And I was thinking, wow, this. So I didn't think the Panthers were out at that point. I was like, they could get a good return with 40-something seconds. They had no timeouts.
They just needed a field goal.
They just needed a field goal. Maybe get them close to get a 40-yard field goal, maybe even a 50-yard, because I don't know what this kid's leg is. He hasn't had to kick a field goal all game long.
Right.
And to put it where they put it, 64 yards. And then I have the traumatic flashbacks of Justin Tucker kicking that 66-yard field goal against the Lions in that same stadium, going in the same direction, practically almost 2 yards from the exact spot that Justin Tucker kicked from. Just incredible. I might be the only soul on the planet that was there for both of those kicks.
Could be.
There might be, maybe there was a Lions season ticket holder who's there. And then for the UFL game, maybe not. But right now, I'm going to take this moment to claim that I am the sole person in history to witness both of these kicks
in person.
Suck on those eggs, everybody. But no, like it was fun, and to come down in that kind of fashion, but everybody likes to think that was the game-winning kick, which it was. But there were still 3 seconds left, and I tried to emphasize that in the video that the Panthers still had to stop the next kickoff, which they did, and that was game and one of the most fun games we've been to.
Oh yeah.
I mean, obviously a slow start, but at the end, when you get an ending like that, that does tend to make up for. That's why it bugs me. Like sometimes when we talk about great Super Bowls, it's like, well, technically it was a great fourth quarter. So this game, let's just say it was a great fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great game. It ended up being a great game just because of the optics of that final quarter. But I had a good time.
Yeah, it's easy for people who weren't at the game, who maybe only saw like a few highlights of the game on ESPN or whatever. To say, what a terrible game and all this. I mean, I thought it was boring in the beginning just because there was not a lot of offense.
Yeah.
It was almost nothing going into halftime. But here's a quick little fact. When I rewatched the game yesterday, I taped it, so I watched the whole thing and kind of fast forwarded through commercials and stuff. But when they kicked that field goal at the end of the first half, St. Louis did, they iced him. They called a timeout just before he kicked it. And so he had to, I don't remember if he actually kicked it through the upper. I think he did. I think he kicked it through.
Yeah.
Yep. So he kicked that twice, and then later on it was the Panthers kicker that had to do it twice, but from 64 yards. And the first time he kicked that, when they blew the whistle, it made it through the uprights, but it hit the ground on the other side of the goalposts before it got to the wall. The second one was in the net.
Oh yeah.
So
it would have been good from 70.
I think so. Yes, this kid and like you were pointing out, one of the defensive lineman got way up in the air to
Oh
try
yeah.
and block it. So this kid got the ball up fairly good because it went over his hands. Or I think maybe he timed his jump just a little bit off because he was, I think, on his way down when the ball sailed over his
Mm,
head. But yeah, he got way up there. He jumped up, put his hands up, and tried to block the kick. But
yeah.
wow, that was incredible. That's one of those games that you will remember for the rest of your
Yeah.
life.
So Jake Bates will always be one of those names that
Yep.
name the kicker who in the UFL that kicked a 64-yard field goal. Jake Bates.
Yeah, and I saw something yesterday that said the Lions have already expressed an interest in signing him,
After one
but
kick,
because it was
April Fool's
April
Day.
Fool's Day yesterday, I didn't put much stock in. But I have seen similar things today, so I don't know if it's still carrying over from April Fools or if they're seriously looking at this kid.
I'm sure that there is. We're going to watch you with great
Right,
interest, young
right,
Padawan.
right.
As Palpatine said
Now
to
that he's on
Anakin
their radar,
Skywalker.
they can have somebody there for every home game at least and watch this kid kick because he kicked one
One
time.
field
Yeah,
goal,
one
which
field
just
goal.
happened to be one of the best field goals ever. So we'll have
Absolutely.
to see what he does. If he kicks a 70-yarder, I swear Detroit better sign him right then and there.
Even as a backup and just leave him on the
No,
practice
not on
squad.
backup. He better start. Like I don't like. I'm not a big fan of who the kicker the Lions already have is. So get this kid.
Badgley.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Badgley. They get this kid. But obviously, I'd like to see a little more. Let's just not be irrational fans and say just sign him now. Like,
Yep.
okay, let's actually jokes aside, let's see what he does.
Yep.
Other notes from this game, we got to meet a fan, which was
Yes.
fun, different for us.
Yes.
Not to brag,
you-
I was thought I was being delusional.
You heard him before I did.
I was like looking around, like
we were
am I
walking to our
dreaming?
seats. We were way down, we were like row 6 in our section,
Yeah, keep bragging.
and we were walking, and you said you heard somebody yell, "Hey, look, it's the world of football" or
It
something.
says, "Hey, World of Football," yeah, and we met Mike. Very nice fella.
Yep.
Dad and him exchanged business cards. Talked to him for a little while, and it's just really surreal being out in public, just trying to really like we're just a couple of
Yeah,
schmucks on a YouTube channel,
We've never had this before.
just going just going to a UFL game, just enjoying ourselves, and we just have
People
some.
knew we were going to be there. I mean, we made no bones about
True,
it.
but just still to have somebody come up to you and say, "I've watched you," like it's surreal. It was very nice of Mike to come up and say hi.
Yep.
So
He was there with his brother.
he was there with his brother to enjoy the game on his own. So like that was cool. I don't know. It's so surreal to me. Like you think about that, like what's gonna happen when you get big and famous? You know,
We don't know, and
we don't know.
will
And
never
we'll probably never know. But
But this was a big ego
it was
boost.
nice and fun. I
we
mean,
appreciated
we
it.
appreciate people coming up and saying, "Hey, what we're doing, they enjoy." I mean, that's
Yep.
always a big, vote of confidence for us doing what we do because we're just here to have fun. We're not going to be the next Tom Grossi. We're not here to be super aggressive like uh, That's Good Sports, another YouTube channel that I
Right.
really like watching him. And if you get a chance, watch his week 1 recap of the UFL as well. That was fun to watch him kind of go through that, because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. And I'm glad to see that UFL kind of getting some love by even some of the pundits out there on YouTube. So,
Well, our whole thing is we are football fans
Yep.
of all kinds of football. So, here we are at a UFL game. We're talking about going to an arena game. We want to go to a CFL game this year. Last year we went to a USFL and an XFL game. So we love to go to games, and that's our thing.
Yeah.
And we like it all. We try to see the best in everything.
Yep.
Yeah, some of these teams, some of these leagues are not the best run, or the league is not, doesn't get a whole lot of attention, but we know about them, and we like to go and check them out and make our own, opinions of what things are like. So we just had a lot of fun. And as we were leaving the stadium, you wanted to stop and do a quick, post game reaction, but we waited till we got outside because it was kind of dark in the stadium. And as we were walking out, we heard people chanting, "Jared Goff,
Yep.
Jared Goff." The fans that were leaving the stadium were doing that chant, and I thought that was kind of funny too. And then we walked out. We did our post game thing, and then went to our car. But the attendance for this game was 9,444, which is kind of on the low side. I think the USFL game we went to last year had more people than this one. I kind of estimated last year, and I never saw an attendance last year after that game, but I was guessing, maybe 10 to 12,000 at that time. So not quite as good, but I think some people will maybe start paying more attention to the game and saying, "Hey, let's go check out this kicker, see what he does this week."
Yeah.
So they might have an increase because they're playing the Stallions this week
Oh yeah, that'll
at
be a
home.
tough game. Yeah, that'll be
So
tough.
so that should be good. So we don't plan to go back this week, but maybe other people in Detroit might say, "You know what? Let's go check this out."
We would recommend it. Yeah, anybody,
Yeah.
if you can go to at least a Panthers game, we can vouch that they put on a good game day experience. I'm sure the other teams do as well, but we can only vouch for the ones we've been to, and the
Yep.
Panthers, they did it right.
Yep.
And I also want to mention, as we transition into the next games, those two games on Saturday were both on Fox,
Yes.
and these next two games were on ESPN because I have some questions for people who watch the other games too over the weekend. So
Okay.
I'll let you continue.
All right. On Sunday, the first game was the San Antonio Brahmas defeating the DC Defenders 27-12. You were watching this game, or
It was.
I don't know if you were watching the whole game, but you.
I definitely fell asleep during it because I kind of had it on and I was kind of tired, so I was watching it and then took a nap. But
Yeah, because I wasn't watching it, but you all of a sudden texted me and you said, "Are you watching this Brahmas Defenders game?" And I'm like, "No." And so you said, "Turn it on," or whatever. You told me what
Yep.
was going on, so I turned the game on and I was able to see a replay of the play you were talking about.
the play of the week, which is the fake field goal, which turned into a fake punt, which turned into a real touchdown. It was just absolutely cool. And I thought the 64-yard field goal during the Panthers game would be the highlight of the week. This one took the cake. And it was impressive because it was thrown to a center. The guy wasn't lined up as center, but he's the normal center. He played like
He reported as
as
eligible.
and he got wide open and he caught it and he scored the touchdown. I was just like, man, what a play! Because the kind of the narrative was the kicker for the Brahmas was a YouTube sensation or Instagram, TikTok. His name is Destroying, and he's kind of been getting in shape, and he got picked up by this team to be their field goal kicker. And I thought for sure, okay, we're gonna get to see this guy kicking in action. This will be interesting. Good for him. Got a bunch of TikTok, millions of followers on the internet. And he goes out wide, and I'm like, huh? Why are you guys gonna? Okay, it's a punt now. Then it was a fake punt, and I'm like, oh, okay, another wrinkle. And then you just see that big fella, number 55, catch that pass and rumble and stumble and bumble down to the goal line and get in there. Just
Yep.
even who's the head coach?
Wade Phillips
had a great quote about that. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you if you saw his
post game. Oh yeah, it was great.
He said something because it took this guy a long time. And he says, I don't know if I've ever seen my punter go to his third read in order to find an open receiver and throw a touchdown to a center.
That's great.
It was.
That's a good line. That'll be one of the greatest football quotes of all time.
Because he did. He looked right.
Yep.
And nothing there. And he looked left. That guy's covered. And he looks down the middle, and there's the center all wide open,
Yep.
just standing there waiting for the ball. And he tosses it to him. He turns around. He just dives in the end zone.
That's
That was, I wouldn't say that was better than the 64-yard field goal, but this was just as good.
I thought it was a little. I mean, the 64 is impressive.
I mean, it's more complicated. You got more people involved in it.
But I mean, it's a fake punt. I mean, a field goal is pretty straightforward, but a 64-yarder is impressive. But I would have to say, it just barely beats out the 64-yard field goal. I was just so impressed. I mean, if I have to sit there and text you, like I did text Aaron and Kyle, did you guys see the 64-yard field goal? I texted you, did you see this fake punt? And like, that's when you know you got a good football player on your hands. And to have those two plays from the UFL this weekend alone were awesome.
Well, I'm sure Aaron didn't see it because he was at a Cincinnati Reds
He was
game
at
with
Reds
his
opening
wife
weekend.
and his wife's family. Beautiful weather down
Yeah,
there.
great weather. They were on the third baseline. Like they were really
Cloudy
close
and
too.
drizzly up here that day, but I thought maybe their game would be
Rained out
down there in Cincinnati, but they had great weather. From what it looked like, they sent us some pictures from the game.
For the most part, great weather at all the other UFL locations. I mean, the Brahmas game was indoors. The Panthers game was indoors. The other two outside. So, but great weather all together. Other than the Michigan was kind of crappy outside, but we were in a dome, luckily, just like this podcast.
Yep. And then the San Antonio game in San Antonio, the attendance for that one was 13,164. So another pretty respectable.
And that's on Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
Of all days.
Yes, it was. It was on Easter Sunday. Yep. But San Antonio had a pretty good following last year.
Yeah, they did.
They liked that team down there.
They didn't have a great record, but they said during the broadcast how Wade Phillips came from the Roughnecks team, and he brought a lot of the staff and some of the players with him. So essentially, this Brahmas team is that Roughnecks team. So there was a lot of weird like confusion there for me about like, okay, but they're still the Brahmas, but they added a lot of talent. So the Brahmas, I think right now, the way they played, the way they looked, they had a lot of talent on that team, it looked
Hmm.
like. I think they're going to be the team to beat right now. They're probably, if we were to do a UFL power rankings, which we're not, I would probably put the Brahmas number one.
Hmm.
Them, then the Stallions, um, then maybe the Showboats after that, then the Panthers. But hard to say right now.
Hmm. Okay, and then moving on to the last UFL game of the weekend, another game on Sunday afternoon. The Memphis Showboats defeated the Houston Roughnecks 18-12. The attendance at that game was 9,157.
And this was
I
at
didn't see any
Rice Stadium.
highlights from that.
Yeah, this was all over the place.
Yeah.
So this is where I was going to ask people because the sideline reporters, get right up in the players' faces on the sideline, and I don't remember them doing that a lot with the Fox broadcast, but the ESPN ones they were doing that a lot, and it got on my nerves. So I just wanted to ask everybody: am I the only one who felt like the ESPN sideline reporters are being asked to do a little too much of this extra stuff? But also, this game saw a lot of your replay, a lot of that transparency, which I think will be a great example for people to see how the replay system could actually work. We saw the Super Challenge during the Panthers game, which we didn't really talk about, but I think that'll be a big thing to take away from this weekend as well. This game had a lot of turnovers, a lot of craziness in this game. As close as that score was, the Showboats looked really good. They looked dominant. The Roughnecks almost got back into it, but they kept shooting themselves in the foot. Um, and there was even a couple challenges in the Brahmas game, which were interesting too.
Hmm.
If you get a chance to go back and really dig through some of those highlights, like I said, I thought that's good sports did a real good breakdown of a lot of the challenges and a lot of that craziness. But uh, yeah, I thought the Showboats just looked really good.
So the three teams that
Yeah.
were USFL teams last year all won their first game this week.
But technically, the Roughnecks are the gamblers. They just are wearing Roughnecks colors. That's the other weird thing. That was the other, where because I think the Roughnecks was a better brand there in Houston. That they were like, well, let's go Roughnecks, but technically it's that Gamblers team. They're just wearing Roughnecks colors. So that's why I'm like, that's not really an XFL matchup. That's why the Roughnecks are in the USFL division. So, but yeah, the USFL teams I think showed up and proved that hey, we were not the inferior spring league as people might have assumed just because the other league had the Rock, or I think a lot of players are still chirping. I saw some of the Brahmas players on Pat McAfee, John for sure about it. But look, this game was also entertaining, a little bit sloppy, a lot of turnovers. I think one player was it this game or the Defenders game? Somebody got ejected for spitting on somebody.
Oh, I didn't know
I
that.
think that might have been the Defenders game, but there's so much craziness over those two games.
And didn't you say that Jake Bates was on Pat
He was also on
McAfee?
Pat McAfee. Yeah,
I tried to find that.
nice little
I didn't
interview.
find it,
Yeah,
but yeah, I wanted to watch that and see what that was like.
yeah.
Because he's an old punter, not a kicker, but
Well, McAfee was
he
a kicker in
appreciates.
college.
Was
but,
he?
Yeah,
Okay.
but he appreciates the heck out of kickers and
sure.
punters. So
Yeah.
that was a good interview. But yeah, so the Showboats beat the Roughnecks 18-12. So
Okay.
I I thought overall good weekend of football. Definitely a lot to clean up. It's a week one, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So
Okay. All right. You want to do the IFL scores?
sure, I will jump into the IFL. Everybody, the Indoor Football League. It was week 13, week 3. On Friday night, you had a doubleheader. The Massachusetts Pirates defeated the Sioux Falls Storm 49-41. The Frisco Fighters defeated the Duke City Gladiators 49-40. We had one game on Saturday, which saw the Northern Arizona Wranglers defeat the Tucson Sugar Skulls 54-48. Then Sunday, you had a doubleheader where the Bay Area Panthers defeated the Arizona Rattlers 47-41. A bit of a shocker there. And then the Vegas Nighthawks defeated the Jacksonville Sharks 39-33. And then you had a Monday night game last night, which I actually watched a little bit of.
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
The San Diego Strike Force defeated the San Antonio Gunslingers 69-61.
High scoring game.
High scoring game. Good for the Strike Force. They were a team that were kind of,
Yeah.
not had the best of seasons last year or two, but good to see them turn around. They got a great looking field. And then that YouTube stream for the IFL games that I've watched so far, I've been pretty impressed with. Good quality, decent quality. It's not going to be, ESPN or Fox or NFL Network level. But I was impressed with it. It was still, I sat there and enjoyed it. They had their own home broadcast team, it sounded like, doing the game. So a decent crowd. Then on bye this week, Quad City, the Steamwheelers, the Green Bay Blizzard, the Iowa Barnstormers, and the Tulsa Oilers this week.
Okay.
All right, then we're going to move on, I guess, to the American Indoor Football, where there were just a couple of games, or one game, it looks like.
Technically, one game. This first game, I could not find a score for it,
Hmm.
but I did a little digging into it. It was the Cedar Rapids River Kings taking on a semi-pro team from Sioux City called the Tri-State Tridents.
Hmm.
And they play in something called the SPFL, the Southern Plains Football League, which I've never heard of.
Hmm.
So it's like a semi-pro league or whatever. They play some kind of indoor football, and so this was like either an exhibition game or a preseason game. I don't know. I couldn't find anything on it other than it was supposedly was happening. It was on their schedule. They have a schedule that goes across the top of their web page, and
Right.
and as the scores come in, they put the score there. Well, now that game isn't even there, so I don't know if it actually got played. Um, I'm sure if it did, it didn't get counted in the standings or whatever. So yeah, but that was a game that was supposed to take place Saturday. I don't know if it did or not. That's kind of the thing you run into with some of these
Yep.
smaller leagues.
And we had a commenter on our last podcast who's on YouTube who said that uh, the Cedar Rapids River Kings and was it the Colorado Spartans
Yes.
game?
Yes.
Because it was two interleague games.
Right.
That was essentially a preseason or like an
Yeah.
exhibition game as
Yeah.
well.
Okay. Yeah, because we didn't know that either.
Yeah, they didn't really make that known everywhere I looked. So, I mean, thank you to that individual for letting us know that.
Yep.
All right, but there was real football, I guess, that counted in their standings in the AIF for week 3. The Corpus Christi Tritons defeated the Amarillo Venom 76-50. And then on bye this week, the Columbus Lions and the Harrisburg Stampede. We're going to throw it over to Randy for the National Arena League.
Yep, National Arena League. It was their week 3 also. They had a couple of games. On Saturday, it was the Omaha Beef over the Colorado Spartans, 45-32.
Best field in any indoor league right now. The Omaha Beef field, that orange field is so unique, so cool. If you get a chance to check that one out.
Well, they've been around a long time.
They've been around so long.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't been kind of elevated to arena status at any point. So.
And then on Monday night, there was the Carolina Cobras defeating the Idaho Northmen, 42-6.
Yep, this was the other game I watched, and I'm sorry, National Arena League, but that broadcast was not so good.
Was that on YouTube also?
Yes, it was also on YouTube.
Okay.
So they were both that game and the IFL game streaming on YouTube. I was watching this. I'm just like, yikes.
They had the rebound nets.
They had the rebound nets, but not a fan. I thought the audio quality wasn't great. Unfortunately, I hate being that kind of nitpicky about it, but at least they got their games out there. Sure. But for me to just sit there, I was like, I don't know if I could have watched the whole game the way this was. The score graphic, I don't know, it looked like somebody got onto their old Microsoft 95 and just put a little thing in the bottom because the type font it wasn't creative. There wasn't a graphic. So maybe there's limitations depending on the arena or the crew broadcasting these games. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give them too much flack. I just know I was like, it was a very noticeable difference between the IFL, which I do think is the best indoor league.
Oh yeah,
right now
has
been for years. So as much as I love arena football, I will give that to the IFL. This National Arena League, I've always kind of held reservation on. I figured they're kind of on the way out with a lot of their teams leaving. They really had to scrounge up a few teams this year. So nothing against this league, but boy, I was just not sold on the quality of that broadcast. Unfortunately, that's just me.
Interesting.
But yep, and then on bye this week, the Sioux City Bandits and the Oklahoma Flying Aces. Then you have the LFA here, the Liga de Fútbol Americano Profesional down there in Mexico, where apparently there were no games this week.
Yeah, there weren't any games. The next game that I saw on their schedule is a game on Thursday, the 4th, April 4th. And then they've got a few more the rest of the weekend. So for whatever reason, no games this past weekend.
Okay, interesting.
LFA.
Well, we were going to give you a try, LFA, but I guess they're all having a big bye week.
All right, that's it for the scores. Let's move into some news. So now we can finally talk about some NFL news, what little there was this week. Good Morning Football aired from New York for the last time last Friday. Kyle Brandt made it sound like he's going to LA to continue with the show. And Jason McCourty, I couldn't really tell if he was or was not. He was very vague on that. He appreciated the time that he spent there and had nothing but good things to say about the behind the scenes crew, his on air co-hosts, and the city of New York and everything like that. So he was very appreciative of the time he had there, but I couldn't tell from his statements of whether he was going to go out to California or not. But the show is going to be on hiatus until either June or July. I forget which month it's coming back, but I thought it was later on in the fall. But June or July, which is only a couple months away, they're going to be back again from LA.
Yeah.
And Kyle Brandt was wearing a sweatshirt that said "I love New York," and at the end, he was talking outside the building, on the street, like they do some of their stuff outside. And at the end, he just said, "We'll see you." And he turned around and started jogging away with the football. So I'm wondering if when they go to LA, if he's going to enter by jogging down the street to the studio in a "I love LA" kind of sweatshirt.
I'm gonna say no, but feel free to use this clip against me, Randy, in the future.
Yeah, we'll see. But the female co-host there, Jamie Erdahl,
Yeah.
in fact, on the last day, they were saying that she was texting and interacting with the show, and that she had not had her baby yet. I didn't know she was that close to having the baby, but evidently, she had the baby the following day on Saturday the 30th. A baby girl named Nora, and she posted some video and pictures. So congratulations to her
Yeah.
and her husband for having a child, and now she's going to be moving with a new baby to Los Angeles to be ready to start the show again
Yep.
in a couple of months. So congratulations to her. Great pictures that she posted. Let's see. We just found this out a little while ago. The Lions and the Broncos announced dates for their new uniform unveilings. The Lions are going to do theirs on April 18th, and the Broncos are going to be unveiling their new uniforms on the 22nd. The Houston Texans will apparently do theirs on April 23rd. But you said we've seen these already?
Yeah, at least
I don't remember
couple of
this,
the
but
away uniforms leaked,
okay.
and then they released them officially. So you kind of get a look at the Texans away uniforms a little bit. We still haven't seen like their alternates or what they're going to do with that. So they're apparently going to do theirs on the 23rd. The Jets are also supposed to unveil their new uniforms, which will probably be more like the throwbacks to the 90s Jets era, maybe with some slight tweaks. No official date on that, but obviously before the draft at some point. So I'm sure we'll see those soon. There's other teams that have been rumored to have uniform tweaks, like the Seahawks, and I think the Jags were probably going to announce an alternate helmet, but nothing official there. But we'll see. I think a lot of Lions fans are speculating if the Lions are going to do the black uniforms.
No,
I hope not.
no. I think, and I hope that they go back to a more of a Barry Sanders era
But
color. They tweak the color because back in those days the blue was a little bit darker, and now it's more of a lighter blue. And I think maybe they'll go back to the darker blue with
my
maybe similar
prediction,
stripes. And
yeah, my prediction is they'll probably just tweak the stripes. Supposedly they're moving the WCF patch off of the sleeve, so I feel like that'll get moved.
William Clay Ford.
William Clay Ford, yeah. So I'm wondering if that'll just either get moved to the pants or that'll get moved to the back of the jersey or something. But give me the blue face mask. That's
Yeah.
all I want. Give me the blue stinking face mask. Maybe add white back to the stripe on the helmet.
Yeah.
And otherwise that's a perfect helmet.
Right.
And then I'm thinking they'll probably, if they do an alternate, I'm hoping for more of a silver, or maybe we'll even get a couple different shades of blue, because that kind of that chrome blue that the Lions have been using for that alternate helmet, I would almost love to see a more chrome. If you're going to do an outlandish color for an alternate uniform, just go all out like a chromish.
Maybe, yeah.
Because like that flat gray they did was not appealing. It looked like a big, terrible onesie. So if I were the Lions, if you're going to keep silver as the alternate uniform, which I guess I would prefer, make it more silver. Make it more chrome. Make it like a sports car with like a nice, shiny blue stripe. If you're going to wear those helmets, I feel like there's so many cool things they could do instead of just going with the black color that every other team tries to do as an alternate uniform, which can be cool if done right. Don't get me wrong, but for the Lions, it's not one of our colors, and I think they can just do something different and unique. That's just me. I'm excited for the Broncos. See what the Broncos do. I've always loved the Broncos look. I didn't like it when they kind of went back to the orange jersey as their primary as opposed to that navy, because I like that when the Broncos won the back-to-back Super Bowls with Elway. I just like that look. I just love that look so much.
That's the look I grew up with. The
Well, you
orange
got yeah,
crush
you had
defense
that
and
one, but I'm talking about the
blue
two they
helmet.
actually won, the
Mm.
two Super Bowls when they made the uniform change with
Oh,
Elway. His last 2 years in the league. I prefer that one.
yeah.
You prefer the old one,
Right.
which is fine. But the new helmet's supposed to be a white helmet. Supposedly they're going to have like mountains or some geographical thing on their jersey.
Right.
They're going to have the elevation on their pants and a number.
5,280.
5280 on their pants somewhere. So I think the Broncos will have an interesting, unique look. The white helmet's an interesting choice. So we'll see. And
Yeah.
then Texans, we know they're doing a few different uniform combinations. I kind of like their. It's not a big drastic change. Their away uniforms, they like added like a different stripe to the shoulders, which looks more like the Texans horn,
Mhm.
which I'm down with. The numbers get a little more texture to them, but it doesn't look so different from their original uniform. So, and then the Jets, I don't know. We'll see what they do.
The Jets, a few years back, they did away with the green and they went back to the original, Joe Namath style Jets uniform, the white helmet with
Oh,
the
I love that
with
one.
a green football that said Jets on it or whatever.
Classic.
Yeah, I thought that was perfect that they went back to that. And so why they got away from that, I don't know. I wish they would just go back and stay with that.
Maybe they'll get back to it eventually, but I think going back to that '90s Jets era, like you have the helmet sitting up there.
Didn't like it in the 90s, don't like it now.
But you got the helmet sitting right there.
Well, yeah, because I got all the old throwback helmets.
I don't know. I think if they brighten up that green, maybe. But we'll see what they do.
Yeah. I didn't know this. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be celebrating their 30th season this year, and they're asking fans to vote on one of four different logos designs for the 30th anniversary
Yeah.
logo. Um, I, like I said, I didn't even realize that they were
Did you
coming
vote
up
on
on
one?
30 years. I did not.
They had a few choices. I remember seeing them a little while ago. There's one where they kind of lean into Duval County, their Duval chant. There's a couple of them. I mean, they're anniversary logos. I don't think any of them blow me away.
Yeah.
But there's a couple I'm like, you know what? That'd be a cool patch. And if they're having their 30th anniversary, that means the Carolina
That's
Panthers
right.
should be
Yep,
as
I was
well
just
this
going to
year.
say
So,
that, and I haven't heard anything about them, so maybe
so
they're doing something
maybe the Panthers
also.
will release something too. So,
Yep.
yeah.
And let's see. The last thing here for NFL. Registering for the NFL draft. Now, I thought I had done this because I went online. They had a
I
link.
still haven't done this.
I found an article and it said click here to register, and I did, and I got an email back saying you're registered, you're good to go. And then I was thinking, well, how are they going to know it's me? All I got is this email. There was no, QR code or anything in it. So I went back today and I was looking at another article, and it talked about this app called the NFL One Pass app.
Hmm.
So I actually went out and I downloaded that app to my phone and kind of set up an account. I didn't come up with a password. It just does like facial
Ooh, it's
recognition.
got 2.5 stars on the iTunes store.
Whatever. But anyway, uh, I downloaded the app and I filled out, the registration part, name, address, email address, and a few other things. And then it asks you what days do you plan to attend the draft,
None of your business.
Thursday, Friday, or Saturday.
Uh,
And so I picked the day that we plan on going. And when it was all done, it spits out a QR code in the rewards button because at the bottom of the app there's like the main screen, there's a rewards thing, and then there's something else. But under rewards, yes, there is a QR code, and it says here is your unique QR code that will get you into the NFL draft. So that's what you need to do now is set that up, get your own QR code. And it said you could copy the QR code to your phone, or just open it in the app when you get there, and have them scan that, and you're good to go.
oh man, I have to accept cookies.
Yeah.
Fine. Oh man, I have to give them an email address. Oh, I'll just do this later.
Yeah, it takes a few minutes, but it wasn't too bad, and I feel better now knowing that okay, I've got my QR code. All I got to do is pull out my phone, bring that up. I tried to copy it to my wallet or whatever, but it's just a picture,
Yeah,
and so I don't know, but I'll just probably just use the
just
app.
keep a screenshot of it.
Yeah.
Don't send it to anybody.
All right. Well, yesterday was April Fool's Day, and of course, every year there's some April Fool's jokes that kind of maybe sound good. The classic one I remember is the CFL saying that they were going to be playing a game on an aircraft carrier,
Yep.
and they had a picture of it. They had like a CFL field on the runway,
Yeah.
and I thought if that's not real, I want it to be real.
And my football one will always be the Tiger Cats and the Argonauts merging to form the Argo Cats.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I think that was a few years before your aircraft carrier, so there's
Hmm.
always something.
Yeah, a
Uh,
lot of NFL
but
stuff. So
unfortunately,
and so is retiring, or so and so is being traded to another team, and junk like that.
but unfortunately now with the age of social media, where news comes out constantly, all over the place, anytime. What a bad day to do pranks or to have real news because I don't
Right,
know what to believe.
right. There were a few things that I saw that I thought, I don't know if that's real or not, and so I'm going to wait on that one. But these other ones, I'm like, that's total BS. I know it. I know it is.
Like a player passed away, and I was like, "Is that an April Fool's joke?"
Yeah,
Or oh
yeah.
boy,
That's
like,
terrible if it is. If it's a joke, that's a
I
terrible
know.
joke. But
You heard some of these I hadn't even heard.
yeah,
I saw a couple of them, but you've got one here I hadn't heard.
yeah. Well, the first one that came to mind was the Lions have traded Jared Goff to the Washington Commanders in exchange for the number 2 draft pick,
I
and
mean,
that's total bogus.
of course.
Yeah, and then there was another one. The Bills and the Argos are going to play an exhibition game on May 29th in Buffalo,
I
and
mean,
and I kind of wanted that to be true, but I looked up May 29th. It's a Wednesday,
yeah.
and that's before the camps even open for the NFL. So yeah, that's totally bogus. But that came from our pal Greg
Oh,
James,
did he make that one
our
up?
man in Japan. He's the only one I've seen posted, so I think he
Yeah.
made that up. But it was on the from the 55-yard line
Okay.
social media site because I couldn't find it today under his personal account, and I thought, wait a minute, wasn't that the 55-yard line? And so I went there, and yep, there it was. And
Now this next one
nice,
almost
nice
got me.
try, but
This next one you got almost got me. I was like, "Oh, fascinating." But then I was like, "Oh, wait."
the
This one
uni-
almost got me.
here's another one. The University of Michigan is going to play this season's home games at Ford Field in Detroit, while the Big House expands its seating to the current, what are they, 109,000 something,
Something.
110,000 to 130,000 spectators.
I saw that for a second. I was like, "That's borderline believable," but I was like, I feel like we would have heard if the big house was going to
Yeah,
expand.
yeah, and for it to come out on April 1st, there's no way.
Yeah.
And then the last one, I mean, there was a bunch, but these are the ones that I can remember that I personally saw. It said that the Indoor Football League and the Arena Football League are going to merge uh, after this season in 2025.
Yeah.
Again, if you got serious news, don't put it out on April 1st.
Right.
You better
Well,
wait a day.
that was another one where I had to double take at it and realize what the day was
Mhm.
because one, we haven't seen what this Arena Football League is going to do. I don't think the IFL would ever merge with them, but I think of all the things that could happen down the line, that's one that could probably happen at
Yeah,
some
well,
point. But I thought it was too soon. You're about 3 years too early on this
yeah, we
joke.
thought this whole off season that they might be absorbing some of these other leagues, maybe the National Arena League, or they did take a bunch of teams from other leagues to build the AFL this season, but it just wasn't a lot of the teams that we thought that they were going to get. But yeah, as soon as I saw that, I said, well, that's fake. So, but yeah, every year on April Fools, there's always a lot of sports stuff. All the social media places, they have a good time doing a lot of these fake stories and putting it out there. So just beware. Be
Yeah.
aware that it's April 1st and don't take anything seriously. If you see it, a week from now, the same thing, okay, maybe you got something. But today or yesterday, no.
Well, maybe next year we got to come up with our own April Fools.
We say this every year behind the
How we
scenes.
broke up, how the podcast broke up, and we're gonna have two different competing podcasts.
Yeah. Well, you'll know it's fake if I say I'm replacing you with your mother on the podcast.
Maybe next year's it's got to be Randy will host This Week in the World of Football, and Adam's going off to host the World of Football this week. Just two competing podcasts.
With almost identical names,
Yep,
spelled differently,
spelled differently.
or different capitalizations in different places. All right, let's move on to some CFL news. There's going to be a touchdown Pacific game this year. They announced that. The Ottawa Red Blacks are going to travel to the British Columbia Alliance for a game on Saturday, August 31st. Now, in years past, they've always had a touchdown Atlantic game where it's been a neutral site game over in, well, it was in Moncton a couple years ago, in Halifax, where they're trying to get a team going. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. Um, so there's no, as far as I know, there's no touchdown Atlantic game this year, but there will be this touchdown Pacific. And I think they're just trying to emphasize, that we've got teams on both coasts.
Yeah.
We're from coast to coast. We have football, and there's teams you can go and watch.
Now I want the touchdown Tundra game, which is in the middle of Canada somewhere, where it's neither the Pacific or the Atlantic. Just give me somewhere right there in the middle.
The Hudson Bay, touchdown Hudson Bay.
There you go.
All right. Okay, let's see.
That's all we got for that.
That's all we got for that.
Wow, that one
is that
fizzled out real quick.
we're getting a touchdown Pacific game instead of a touchdown Atlantic game this year. And the touchdown Atlantic games have always been kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
They play them at a college stadium out there.
Yeah, the highlights from last year, I think it was the Argos in Saskatchewan, maybe.
Could be, yes. I think they played the last couple of years.
I like the great highlights from that different stadium.
Right.
So it's kind of cool to see. It's smaller, like so small.
But the fans still come out
Yeah.
and they enjoy the game and the teams and a small venue and whatnot. I think they put up extra seats and stuff to try and get as many people as they can in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always a fun time. So, but yeah, this year, Touchdown Pacific. All right, Arena Football League news. You and I are going to be talking with Tim Capper of Arena Fan here in a couple of days, and trying to get everybody excited about the 2024 AFL season.
Yep, we've been trying to set up something with Tim for a while.
Yep.
We think Tim is one of the more
in the know.
people. There you go. Yeah, the in the know guys. In the Arena League.
He has connections.
He's got a lot of good connections.
Don't.
I think he does a lot of great stuff on social media. To help promote the league. He's got a very well-versed passion for the game. Very knowledgeable about the game too. Obviously, he's been running the Arena Fan website. Right. Something we'll definitely ask him about is the site has gone from. If you guys haven't checked out arenafan.com, it is one of the best sites. For years, we would use that site over the official Arena Football site. We just felt like it was just so much more in depth and cared a lot more. Kept a lot more of the records and the stats, where it was just easier to find everything. So I love Arena Fan, and they've gone from what he has called archive mode,
a historical site,
the historical mode to active mode. And I think that happened last night.
Right.
So now that there's going to be actual arena football to be played, the site is now going to be functioning as, a full-fledged, covering the league.
Right.
So that means he already kind of put out the feelers for new writers.
Yep.
So if there's any writers out there who want to cover an arena team, Dad, you used to cover the Rampage for Arena Fan for years.
I covered the league even after the Rampage were gone. I wrote an article every year for 20 consecutive years for Arena Fan.
Yep.
It's a great site. Everybody that I've worked with there was very, very good to work with. And if you want to get into sports writing and you love arena football, contact Arena Fan and say I want to be a correspondent for this particular team. They'll set you up with press credentials with the team. I got to sit in the press box, watch the games, talk to the players, in the locker room or on the field afterwards, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, I mean, if we had a team that was just a little bit closer, it would definitely pique my interest a little bit. I know it'd pique your interest maybe a little bit.
Well, I'm thinking that when we go to Minnesota, that I just may do an Arena Fan article.
Well, if he doesn't have an Arena Fan correspondent out there.
True. But, we'll be doing like a travelogue video
for our stuff, yeah.
But I'll probably write an article too, unless they, already have an Arena Fan correspondent.
We could meet their Arena Fan correspondent.
Sure,
that'd be cool too.
Yep. Yeah, I'd love to meet. I've met a lot of correspondents over the years, and a lot of great guys that are like us. They just love football, and especially arena football, and they love to write about it and love to be around the players and coaches and the fans and all that. So yeah. Looking forward to that already. And the other Arena Football League news item that I had this week is we got our first official look at the Philadelphia Soul uniforms.
Or uniforms in general for the league. So I'm wondering if they're going to start rolling these out. I was hoping they'd do more than this. There's several pictures here I'm going to show you because you just saw a couple, but they have graced us with several pictures. This is from the AFL's Arena Instagram page, where there are several different angles. So you get to see all over the New Jersey provider, which I think the uniforms themselves look well made.
It's a sharp-looking uniform.
It's a sharp-looking uniform. As for the sole itself, not sold on a lot of the choices, but in this one picture, look what the football is. It's a Washington Valor Arena football that they're holding in the picture.
I didn't notice that.
Yep. So the sole looks like they're going to be rocking some white helmets, which I think is a little plain, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The uniform's got some really interesting kind of piping along the shoulders and the down the pant leg. It's like
It's
a
kind of a powder blue, kind of looks like the old Houston Oilers
yeah.
color
So I
jersey.
mean, overall, I don't hate it. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
hate the
nice.
look at all.
It's nice.
But I don't. The numbers still bug me. I feel because we've seen a couple of the leaked pictures of like the Voodoo and the Billings Outlaws uniforms, and the numbers look exactly the same. So
Mm.
there's no uniqueness to the numbers to each team, which would add a little bit of personality to the uniform for me at least. But I mean, it's the same uniform provider, so maybe they're just like, well, let's just come up with one stock number for this year. Maybe next year they change it. So maybe just because I'm a little bit of a uniform snob. So I don't think it's a perfect look, but it could have been worse.
Well, I used to do high school football stats, and sometimes there was always one school that had numbers that it was almost impossible to read from
Mm.
binoculars up in the press box. They were white numbers on a gold jersey with no outline around the letters. So, in the evening lights of the stadium, it was almost impossible to say, is that a 23 or a 28? It was so hard to see. But these numbers I think would be good. So
At least from
if
that
it makes
perspective,
it
I get what you're
uniform
saying.
across the league, and it makes it easier for the spotter to say, oh, that was number 24 that scored that touchdown.
I'll give you that for that case. I don't know. In terms of just like, I think a uniform speaks a lot about what the team is.
True,
Kind of gives a nice vibe to the team.
true.
It's a small thing, and don't get me wrong. I know other people are going to be like, "It's just a uniform number, Adam. Who cares?" I care. I think it could have been so unique, and it could have just been like, "Oh, that's the soul number. Ooh, like I like that. That's the Voodoo, especially. I figured would have some sort of unique look because they always had interesting numbers in the past. So I figured they'd kind of stick with that. But I don't know.
It could
I
have been the manufacturer just said, well, it'd be cheaper if you just went with all the same style of number
wouldn't
for
surprise
all these.
me.
But I do wish they do away with that stupid S logo that they've got
Yeah, for the soul.
for the soul.
Yeah.
Bring back the old one. Why did they have to mess with that logo? That was a perfect logo of the football with the
like
wings on
like we
it.
speculated, maybe there's something
Uh,
tied in with the old ownership group,
I
and
don't
maybe they
know.
could get the name, but they couldn't get that
I don't
logo.
know. It just seems like if it was owned by the Arena Football League, they should have had access to it. But again, we don't know everything.
Hey, maybe Tim Capper does. Go ask him. Maybe he'll tell
Well,
you.
maybe we'll ask him, and
Maybe
maybe
Tim. I bet you Tim's just got a secret like Manila folder full of all this arena football info goodness, kind of like those redacted files from like the government. Like
uh-huh.
he's just got it stashed away somewhere.
He'll say, I know the answer, but I can't tell you.
Probably tell us that too. We'll probably get a lot of
It would
that.
ruin my source, and I can't do that. I need my sources.
That's fine.
All right, let's move on here. All right, today's birthdays for April 2nd. Cornerback Arnie Herber, Herber, born on this date in 1910, passed away in 1969 at the age of 59. Played his college football at Wisconsin, and he played 13 seasons in the NFL. He was with the Green Bay Packers from 1930 to 1940. He retired and served in the military during World War II. Then he came out of retirement to play two more seasons with the New York Giants in 1944 and 1945. He won four NFL titles with the Packers in 1930, 1931, 1936, and 1939, and he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1966. The other birthday today is that of kicker Roy Gerela, who turns 76 today. He played his college football at New Mexico State and was selected in the fourth round of the 1969 NFL Draft by the Houston Oilers. He played 11 NFL seasons. He was with the Oilers in 69 and 70. He's with the Steelers 71 through 78, and he was with the San Diego Chargers in 1979. He won three Super Bowls with the Steelers during his time there in the 70s. As the Giants quarterback, he lost to the Packers in the 1944 game. So a lot of history between him and the Packers as a player and as an opponent. All right, we do have three obituaries today. This is where we take a moment and honor those who've made the world of football a better place. And the first one is Vontae Davis, a defensive back in the NFL for 10 seasons, has passed away at the young age of 35. The cause of death was not immediately known. I guess they found him dead in his apartment,
Mm.
and they, not sure why right now. Davis played college football at Illinois and was selected with the 25th overall pick in the 2009 NFL Draft by the Miami Dolphins. He played for the Dolphins from 2009 to 2011. He also played for the Indianapolis Colts from 2012 to 2017, and he finished his playing career briefly with the Buffalo Bills in 2018. Davis abruptly retired from the NFL in Week 2 of the 2018 season during halftime of a game between the Bills and the Los Angeles Chargers on September 16th. You remember that?
I remember that. We might have talked about
I
that.
had forgotten about that, but yeah,
Yeah.
at halftime he just said, "I'm done. I'm out of here." I
Yeah.
didn't realize it was week 2 of the season, but yeah, that was him.
Yep. All right. Yeah, he was the passing that we were talking about. Like we weren't sure if that was real or not because it was on April
Yes,
1st
yes,
that came
he
out.
passed away yesterday.
All right. Our next obituary is that of Mike Mercer, a kicker and punter in the NFL and the American Football League for 12 seasons, has passed away at the age of 88. Mercer played college football at Minnesota and at Arizona and was selected in the 15th round of the 1961 NFL draft by the Minnesota Vikings. He played for the Vikings from 1961 to 1962. He also played for the Oakland Raiders from 1963 to 1966. The Kansas City Chiefs in 1966, the Buffalo Bills from 1967 to 1968, the Green Bay Packers from 1968 to 1969, and the San Diego Chargers from in 1970.
Yeah, he got traded a couple different times, so that's why he shows up on two different teams in 1966 and two different teams in
Mm.
1968. But yeah, quite a mover that guy was from team to team. All right, and our final obituary today is that of Jeff Jaeger, a kicker in the NFL for 12 seasons, has passed away at the age of 59. Jaeger played college football at Washington and was selected in the third round of the 1987 NFL Draft by the Cleveland Browns. He played for the Browns in 1987 and then missed the 1988 season, ironically, with a foot injury. Jaeger then signed with the Los Angeles Raiders in 1989 and played for the team through 1995 when the team moved back to Oakland. So they were the Los Angeles Raiders through '94. Then in '95 they moved back to Oakland. He finished his playing career with the Chicago Bears from 1996 to 1999. All right, finally today, our upcoming events calendar. Thursday, April 25th through the 27th, the NFL Draft in Detroit. We're planning to be there on that Saturday, the last day of the event. Also on Saturday, April 23rd or 27th, the 33rd Arena Football League season begins, and it's going to begin with a game between the Orlando Predators and the Albany Firebirds at 8 p.m. on the NFL Network.
Very excited for that.
Also on Saturday, the 27th, a very busy day, the Women's Football Alliance takes off and begins their season. They've got like 60 teams around the country
Yeah.
in
Good for them.
three different divisions. You know, there's a top division, a Division Two, Division Three, and each one has a championship game. So yeah, they're everywhere. Good for them. Tuesday, April 30th, the CFL Draft in Toronto. I say it's in Toronto, but it's on the phone from Toronto.
Yeah.
It's a conference call to all the different locations. Let's see. Friday, May 24th, the European League of Football season begins.
Well, real quick thought, you know what we need to try to do? Can we be the first people to ever get press passes to sit in that conference room at the CFL draft? If we got to shoot for the stars, let's just do that. That's what I want to do.
Here we are. We're in a room. We're looking at a telephone with a speaker, and the first pick is about to come in.
And then Randy's just over there in the corner, just gnawing on popcorn, just crunches like they can't hear the
Crunching
pick.
on potato chips, and they're like, "Would you stop eating that? I can't hear the pick."
Oh, never mind. He'd be in the corner eating poutine. That's what it'd be.
Oh, there you go. I want a poutine now. Let's see. Where was I? Thursday, June 6th, the CFL regular season begins. Sunday, June 9th, the Arena Football League championship game is supposed to be played in Tampa.
See, I still haven't seen an
That's-
official thing about
I
that.
saw that on the schedule. Go to the
Interesting.
website and look at their schedule, and that's what it says.
Interesting.
So
Maybe we'll have to
I've
ask
never
Tim
seen a
about that.
release on that either. It's just something I saw on the schedule.
Well, ask Tim.
Maybe it's
Every
wrong.
time we see an arena thing, he's like, "Oh, we better ask Tim."
Yeah. I just added this today, Tuesday, June 25th, our 350th episode.
Oh,
We're
good
closing
Lord.
in on that. So
We're that old.
yes, we are. Yes, we are. We have to plan something special for that day. Maybe drinking a little blue Kool-Aid and talking about the other 349 episodes.
Yeah, oh yeah, let's go in depth. 1 minute on each previous episode. Yeah.
Let's see. Thursday, August 1st, the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton, which will feature the Chicago Bears and the Houston Texans. Saturday, August 3rd, will be the 2024 enshrinement ceremonies at the Hall of Fame. And then Thursday, September 5th, the NFL regular season kicks off
Jeez, April,
for
May.
another year. And
That's 5 months away, Randy. We're already talking about stuff that's 5 months away.
I can't help it. I'm excited already. Go Lions. All right. Anything else that's popped up on your phone that we need to discuss
Not
or
really. I'm
make people aware of?
still waiting for the Arena League to just drop some other teams.
Oh, it'll probably be happening constantly.
I'm wondering if
over
it'll
the
be
next
like
day or so.
one a day now. Like we'll just start trickling out other teams. So we'll probably get to talk about more uniforms this week. Maybe even with Tim, we'll talk some new stuff. But
it could be 16 teams, and that would put us to about a week before the
there you go.
season begins. So yeah, maybe
probably even sooner. We'll probably start getting 2 a day because you want to get them out before
true.
you get even that far. So yeah, all right.
Okay.
I got nothing else.
All right. Well, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we've done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can follow The World of Football on Facebook, X, and Instagram, where the address for all 3 of those is TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music, so you can simply ask your Alexa device to play The World of Football podcast to hear us on whatever Alexa devices you may have. You can also find the full audio version of this show on our YouTube page. Just enter The World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle at The World of Football in the YouTube search bar to find us. So please spread the word, subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation like many fellows on this last video we posted on YouTube. The World of Football goes to a UFL game. A lot of interaction with that, so a lot of fun making it, a lot of fun talking to people about UFL football. So,
what are we up to in followers? You told me like
how many
700
subscribers over on
yeah.
On the YouTube channel as of right now? We hit 769 by my last count.
769.
So that's where we're sitting.
Shooting for 1,000.
Hey, yeah, we're slowly making that climb. Our video, it looks like, might have just crossed the 500 view mark, which is big for us.
Wow.
I know it's not that big for normal YouTube channels, but hey,
Right.
for us, 500 is nice.
That's pretty darn good for us.
Yeah, we're happy with that. 500. The fact that 500 people want to sit down and see what we got to offer, we appreciate you stopping by.
Sure do. All right.
Tell all your friends about us.
Yeah, tell your enemies about it. As long as they subscribe, we don't care.
Yeah, even a thumbs down on a video helps us out, so that's fine. If they don't like us, just subscribe.
No, we don't want to get into that now. And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the 2 of us sitting here in Kalamazoo. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job, yeah, right. I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm Adam Snow.
And we will see you all next week.